So in this video, we're going to take a look at how credit is given for the conversion of different sales. So if somebody has been to multiple websites or multiple sources of information, how do you know which one will get the credit for the conversion? So I'm here using the Google Analytics demo account, and it's the Google Merchandise Store. So the normal way to look at it is to go to Acquisition over here, go to All Traffic, and then go to Source Medium. And so here you can see the different sources and mediums that are listed out here. So just as a refresher then, the mediums are sort of like a broad bucket of categories or of the types of sources that you're using. And so, for example, organic is a medium because it encompasses traffic coming from all different search engines such as Google and Bing, etc. And then source then, they're the actual domains sending traffic to your website. And Google Analytics will automatically fill these in. And you can change them as well, especially if you use the UTM tagging that we spoke about earlier. So, for example, referral traffic, the source could be, for example, the New York Times. And for social traffic, the source could be Facebook.com. So then just making sense of what we're looking at here. Remember, this is our source medium. So the first item is your source or the domain that's sending it to you. And then the second after the slash, that's the medium. And that's like the bucket or the category of source that it goes into. So just to take a look here, on number one position here, we have Google, which is the source, and the bucket is organic. So that's organic search engines. And if you look at number 10 here, this is Baidu, which is another search engine, and it's also organic. So both Google and Baidu are search engines, and they're going into the organic category. So the next one then down is direct. So Google Analytics Direct Channel refers to traffic from users who arrive directly at your website. And this typically means that they either bookmarked your website or typed in the address manually themselves. But another reason why you could have a high number of traffic coming through direct is if, for example, in your email address, you didn't use UTM tracking, they wouldn't know to categorize that as email. And so it would just come in as direct. So it's certainly sort of one to watch out for. So what exactly is referral traffic? So referral traffic refers to traffic from other websites that aren't known social media platforms or search engines. So if it's not a search engine and it's not a social media platform that Google knows about, it'll come in as referral. And so when you look at the source medium one, you can tell, for example, number 3 and number 4, it's not a search engine and it's not a social media site. So it's just telling you exactly which site it came from. So number 3 came from mall.googleplex.com and number 4 came from analytics.google.com. And remember, this is the Google Merchandise Store that we're looking at. CPC is cost per clip or per click, and it's Google paid ad, and CPM is cost per mille. It's the display advertising, and again that's DFA that it's coming in as well. So they're the main categories. So when we're looking in this view at the moment it's sorted by the number of users, and so Google Organic has the most number of users. But then we could take a look at the amount of conversions, and let's move along over here and make sure we're looking at e-commerce conversions here. So let's sort it by e-commerce conversion rate. So let's or revenue. We can actually sort it by revenue. So I'm going to click on revenue over here, and now it's sorted by revenue. And so here you can see the revenue amount, and it's saying the direct actually is generating more revenue than the Google organic. So it's important to sort of make sure that you're looking at the right statistics. But direct is receiving more credit. But in reality, and you know about the customer journey, they don't just type in your email address random or your website address randomly. They've come from someplace else. So how come the last action is getting all of the credit? So what we want to take a look at and see, well, where else have they been, and has there anywhere else that Google has tracked them, and can we give credit where credit is due? So what we're going to take a look at now is how Google attributes the conversions and how it decides, and you can actually make a change to how it decides on what channel or meet or source gets credit for the conversion. So let's take a look at multi-channel funnels, and we'll take a look at the overview. So one of the first things we're going to take a look at doing is making sure that the conversion type is correct. So in here, make sure it's just the e-commerce. Don't have all of the goals selected as well. So it's just the e-commerce one that we want to take a look at. Now I'm using the merchandise, Google Merchandise Store, and I've just set it to those dates there because it had more information available to them. So we're just going to take a look down here. And what you can see here in this little chart here is that you can see that actually this one here is direct e-commerce conversion, and it's 79%, but you can see it overlaps with paid search. So paid search and direct are taking the credit. And when it's set up originally in Google Analytics, the default is that it's the last place that they typed in, or the last point of contact that gets all the credit. But maybe they've seen your ad, but then a week later they came back and they actually typed in, or they bookmarked your website address, and so really the ad should be getting credit as well. And so this one over here is organic search, but again, direct is getting all the credit, and possibly organic search should be getting more of the credit, and so you can easily see the overlap here. So you can see here when we're looking at this and looking at the model comparison tool, if you click in under multi-channel funnels and then down into model comparison tool, last interaction is the default setting. So you can see in the conversions, direct is getting 75, nearly 76% of the credit for conversions. But if we change that over, and it could be non-direct, click if they have information further back the line that they knew they'd been somewhere else beforehand, they can attribute it that way. Google ad clicks, first interaction. So maybe you're trying to create awareness, and actually first interaction is what you're trying to look at here, and you're trying to say, well, what's creating access to new customers, and maybe first interaction would be an interesting thing to take a look at. So again, and then linear is sort of where it's evenly spaced out, and the credit is divided out between all of the touch points. Time decay means that the older ones get less credit than the newer ones, and then position based is another way of calculating it out. But it's just interesting to take a look here, depending on what you're trying to assess. So for example, I'll just take a look if we do first interaction. We're now looking at first interaction, and direct is at this point, it was at nearly 76%, and now it's only saying 67%, and so things change. And it's certainly worth taking a look to see, is all the credit going to the last touch point, whereas in actual fact nobody starts off their sales journey right at the bottom of the funnel. They started somewhere else and tracking it the whole way through.